Hello, everyone. This is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Fnatic and mousesports here on. Wow, I don't even know. It was Scorched Haven. Now, first of all, I am not alone today in this 2v2 shoutcast. Alongside me is Matron. So, Matron, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Nice to be with you today, Crota. I'm MatronStarCraft, also a YouTube personality and caster, and really interested to see this 2v2. I understand it's part of a clan war you have going on.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's just Mouse Sports versus Fnatic in Team 1. You can see the positionings. You have Mouse Tosh, who is actually Ghosta, spawning as the yellow Protosh. You have Mouse 6 spawning as the blue Zerg. Meanwhile, back over here, you have Fnatic Phoenix spawning as the purple Terran. And then finally, rounding it off, you have TT1 spawning as the green Protoss. Now, in Game 1, we saw a really well-executed Stalker Blink combination come in from Mouse Sports. And I'm curious as to how exactly Fnatic is going to try and respond with this. How much of 2v2 do you know, Matron?
Not too much, though. I am familiar with the Fnatic players quite a bit, so I'll be interested to see if their 1v1 playstyles sort of translate into 2v2. I know that both TT1 and Phoenix are both very aggressive 1v1 players, so I'll be interested to see whether they try to apply the same aggression to 2v2 here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, here on Scorched Haven, there's a lot of just really short walking distances, three major walkways, and two of them are covered by Zelnaga watchtowers, so it's fairly easy to see when your opponent's going to be trying to attack you. And overlords are going to be set up in position by Sick once again, and those overlords did come into play very, very significantly by allowing blinking up and down ramps and also being able to scout out a lot of early drops. So far, at the 3 minute mark or close to the 3 minute mark, do you see anything that really reveals any of the strategies so far?
Well, again, like you mentioned, looks like Sick does have the Overlords in position, and it's interesting 2v2. Each of the races definitely has their own strengths and weaknesses, but when you combine them with another race, you can actually get some pretty interesting combinations. Zerg's able to get sight onto the high ground quite easily, but they don't really benefit from it too much. But if you combine that with Warp Gate tech and a low ground pylon, you can actually get units past any sort of wall offs. And because the players are sort of not sharing bases, it can be quite a while before you can get some help to your friend's base. So I'll be interested to see if Sick uses the Overlord there to apply some sort of sight on the high ground for Ghost Eye.
Yeah, and also another thing that I didn't even realize until the last matchup is a lot of the times, like a stalker on the low ground, as long as you have an overlord there, can start poking away at the zealot that sits at the front door. And when that zealot is just sitting there taking damage, eventually it has to move, and then Zerglings should be able to run by as well. So we'll see if that particular strategy is used at all. But pretty much, I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Standard warp gate tech coming in from both players, metabolic boost. We are getting a factory with a reactor, so we may be getting Hellions. And Hellions is one of those combinations I like to see from a Terran player. They do a lot of damage against Zealots and Zerglings. And then as long as your opponent has Stalkers to support, the Stalkers can deal with your opponent's Stalkers. And normally there's a nice combination of Zealots and Stalkers in an army, and then the Hellions are just able to run them over. But it looks like the reactor is just for Marines. I completely spoke out of turn.
Yeah, it looks like he'll be getting up that tech lab, so I imagine he'll be going for some sort of tank play. And typically in 2v2, we see one player go for a more safe build, as TT1 going for a sort of a one gas four gate, though he is getting a second gas now. It's a little bit late. So he may be getting the bulk of the defense up in the early going and maybe relying on Phoenix coming in with some sort of tech. It looks like Nova or Sick is moving across with a lot of Zerglings. He's going to have map control at this point, and he's just going to be poking up the ramps and trying to get some good scouting information. And it looks like we have Ghost Day moving across with some Stalkers as well. So it looks like they will be the aggressors in this one in the early going, as TT1's Warp Gate tech does finish, and I imagine we'll see a lot of units coming out from him. But I'll be interested to see how Phoenix uses. Now he's getting a Banshee, maybe getting Cloak, and this is sort of goes along with the traditional harassment style play, which we tend to see from Phoenix in 1v1. He loves those Banshees. He really loves harassing the mineral line of your opponent. So we'll see if they can hang on long enough for him to do some damage with those Banshees, as Ghost Day and Sick amassing a nice little army outside the base of Fnatic.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think Sick also did a little bit of his research because he's already setting up the evolution chamber. I think a spore crawler is in not so distant future, as also Sick already up and running with a hatchery, or will be running shortly. And now Sick just gonna be able to get that economic league and carry on. So you never really want to give your opponent both map control and also be able to out expand you. It's gonna be very difficult, as what Phoenix now setting up some missile turrets, trying to make sure that the same Dark Templar tricks
We see a
don't work this time
blink
around.
into the base of Phoenix at the moment too, as he did use the Overlord and blinking up those Stalkers right as Blink finished. Nice timing on that. And again, he will be able to follow up that Dark Shrine, so we'll see if Fnatic is going to respond with some sort of detection. And it looks like Fnatic was able to kind of repel that initial pressure by Ghost Day.
Yeah, not a lot of damage done there. With just a couple stalkers. The stalkers, I don't think were lost. A lot of them are in the red health, but they are recharging their shields and getting back into this. As now just Sick, just sitting back and enjoying the benefits of an additional 8 mineral patches at his natural expansion.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Sick is going for at the moment. He is getting up a Baneling Nest, and he does have up his Lair Tech, but he hasn't really tipped his hand about which Lair Tech he's going for. He is quite safe with those Spore Crawlers if any Banshees do make their way in, but I'll be interested to see what his Lair Tech of choice is at the moment, just massing lots of Zerglings and Banelings.
And now, once again, another blink straight into the base of TT1, this time with that Overlord on the north side. Stalkers are coming over to try to support as well, but I believe this is going to be a nice hit and run tactic once again. And oh, some of the Stalkers unable to smart blink and actually getting stuck. So a little bit of loss there, but that was a lot of energy used on force fields as the units are continuing to move around. And now you can see that there is a Dark Templar in the base. So that Dark Templar getting a lot of damage, forcing the probes to pull back. I don't see a Raven just quite yet. The scanner sweep, there it goes, finally getting the scanner sweep in there. And that was taken down. So I didn't quite see how that Dark Templar got in. Was it walked in?
Yeah, it looks like distracting, pulling TT1's army towards those Stalkers and then just walking it in. And now Phoenix does have a Raven in position to defend against the Dark Templar. But I like the play from Mouse at this point. They're putting Fnatic back in their base, really controlling the map, and Mouse could take another base at this point. It looks like Ghost Day has not expanded. He needs to do that at some point if this game does make it into the mid and late game.
Yeah, definitely. Also, one thing I would like to see is Phoenix. This is the second time he's seen this strategy already. He should be trying to go for a Viking and hunting those Overlords, as it looks like we are going to be getting another blink up onto the high ground here, using those Overlords in sight, but there are enough siege tanks to at least counter this and make it so that the damage is not going to be that high. The Stalkers, once again, waiting for that cooldown and able to just run away once more. But really, we should be seeing a Viking in order to just clean up the Overlords and then stop this constant aggression.
Yeah, he did. He's doing a nice job so far. He took down 2 tanks there, and I think it was worth it. He didn't lose too many Stalkers, and tanks can be really tough in 2v2 just because you can get into a siege position. You're natural, you share with your opponent. So if you're able to sort of defend, you can defend 4 bases with 1 choke point. As we see the Stalkers moving into position, trying to blink up once again. But now Phoenix does have Marines. He is wise to the tricks of Ghost Day and keeping those Marines to try to deny any sort of blink Stalker play. And it looks like we do have Ghost Day also going for a little bit more tech. He is getting up Psionic Storm, so working off 1 base, working off these 4 gates, and he's got out Dark Templar, Blink Stalkers, and now High Templar.
Yeah, just based upon what you see inside Ghost Day's base right now, do you think they're transferring resources between each other? This is all off of 1 base, and that's a lot of tech for 12 minutes into the game. So it may be the fact that all of the additional gas from Sick is just going into Ghost A for now, and then as soon as he's set up, he's able to try to focus more on his own army once he has his hatcheries up and running.
Yeah, it's definitely very possible, as we see that Sick has really not used too much gas besides a few Banelings that he has got in, but he really didn't take his 3rd and 4th gas at his natural too quickly. So if they were transferring resources, he probably could have done it a little more efficiently since he has that natural up and running for quite a while now. It looks like he will be taking a 3rd in the southeast corner, and the Fnatic team getting up their naturals, both players a little bit later than the Mouse team, and now it looks like Ghost Day also getting up his natural, so expanding, and he's finally going to be able to perhaps afford some of his own tech. Won't need to be stealing any of Sick's resources anymore.
All right, I feel like an absolute fool. Did you realize there's a yellow pylon on the west coast that is just warping in Dark Templars? That's been sitting there and is just going to wreak havoc right now. And I do not believe that Fnatic has seen that one particular pylon, just causing lots and lots of problems back and forth.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting position. It looks like TT1 will see it now and take that out. But again, the Raven is with the army. A lot of times we see DTs added to the late army mix, and they can be quite good if the Terran player doesn't have any scans, there aren't any observers in the mix. So having that Raven down is going to be very good against both the Blink Stalkers and the DTs of Ghostay. But now he's got some fully charged High Templar as well. There was a scan that went down, so I believe Fnatic knows about these Templar. We might see a Ghost Academy. It looks like it's actually about halfway done for Fnatic, so he's going to be, or for Phoenix, so he's going to be responding to those High Templar with some EMPs. And at this point, I really love the dynamic between High Templar and Ghosts. It's just basically whoever gets their feedbacks or their EMPs off the best, whoever does a better job microing can take a huge advantage, as we see that Fnatic's pushing off or pushing towards the middle, and they've got quite the army advantage at this point just because Ghostay has been doing so much teching, and now they may be meeting in the middle.
Yeah, it's going to look like there's going to be a battle in the center. The Zerglings a little bit out of position there, as you are now seeing Hellions making their way out. The Hellions have the blue flame research, so they're going to be able to eat through many of those Zerglings. The problem will be those High Templars. Those High Templars have about 2 to 3 shots, and Infester's on the high ground, getting in a nice fungal growth. I don't think we're going to see an elevator drop anytime soon. One medevac just sitting there, and now those Infestors being forced to pull back. And this is a little bit of a surprise that mousesports is actually on so much on the defensive with so many siege tanks. Phoenix has been able to macro up very, very easily as the units are now making their way forward with a very significant push. There's a Psy Storm, but not that much damage was dealt. I'm assuming that the Raven should drop some point defense drones. There it is. And this battle is just going to take place here. Siege tanks in position. Hellions, Marines just trying to push through. And more force fields trapping many of those High Templars out of position continually, but the Psy Storms still coming in back and forth, and this is a war on all fronts, just massive numbers of Psy Storms and force fields.
Yeah, we'll see if the tech of Mal's is able to take down just the sheer number of units that Fnatic has. I like the fact that TT1 used those Immortals and those Stalkers to absorb a lot of the lightning there, and it didn't do too much damage to the Marines and the Hellions. Eventually, Ghostay was able to get down a really nice lightning on those Marines, and it looks like we have got a ton of roaches coming in here, and they will try to focus down these tanks, and now it looks like all the tanks will be focused down, and Mal's may be able to pull this off. He's got a lot of Immortals still to deal with here, and they're very good against those Stalkers and those Roaches. I don't believe the Roaches do have speed. Now we see a lot of units coming in from Phoenix as well. He's got some tanks, some Stim Marauders and Marines, and it's just back and forth action here.
Yeah, just a really, really nice timed fight. The point defense drones still in play, able to intercept a lot of that damage. Overlords now being suicided in, and those Overlords are just making their way slowly across the map. The Marines are not upgraded at all, but it looks like TT1 has mousesports on the ropes now as the Zerglings are trying to push their way back out. And now you see also expansions in the center portion of the map as well. Fnatic doesn't want to go down without a fight. They want to force a game 3 and want to make sure that they press their advantage on all sides.
Yeah, if you look at the army tab, it's basically 6,000 mineral army versus 1,400 at this point. I'm not really sure that Ghostay and Sick have much that can take on this army, as now Colossi are moving in as well. So you've got Siege Tank and Colossi, the siege units of the Terran and Protoss, just doing work now on the expansions of Mal's, trying to get in some more Psy Storms here, but just very ineffective against those Colossi and Immortals. And now we get the GG from Ghostay. So pretty interesting game there. It looked like Mal's was going for more of a techie build and opening, but just wasn't able to do enough damage with those DTs and Blink Stalkers to, well, Fnatic was able to last and eventually get a huge army up and just push across the field.
Yeah, I really like that. I thought the pressure from mousesports would just be too much on that constant pressure from the Blink Stalkers on the north side and then on the south, and never really clearing out those Overlords. But in the end, they were able to keep cool, keep their composure, sit in their bases, play a very strong game of defense, making sure that they didn't lose too much. And then eventually just balled up really, really nicely together, pushed out with a strong combination of units, those Immortals and the Colossi soaking up so much damage on those Psy Storms, allowing the Marines and the Marauders to clean up the other necessary units as well. So we will be seeing a Game 3 in this best-of-3 series.
Yeah, I'll be excited to see that one, see whether Mal's is able to come back and and continue their game one success, or whether Fnatic's going to make it two in a row and knock off Mouse.
All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you guys on BattleNet.